Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our UETH Weekly Workshop. Today, we are exploring a new topic, the Metaverse, and specifically how it's impacting education, networking, and beyond. So we're excited to have Stacy Quakenbush from Hive3 join us and tell you all about the Eduverse, which is really how the Metaverse is transforming education, networking, and more. I'm Tina Dye. I'm your host. Over my career, I've met hundreds of founders working through early stage investing as an investor and being part of the ecosystem as a product manager. I'm really excited to chat with Stacy, who is the CEO of Hive3. She is truly a force. She's very mission driven and very, very passionate about her work, which is exactly what I like to see in a founder. And today you'll be hearing a lot more about Hive3, but essentially it's a professional ecosystem where education, networking, community events all seamlessly blend within one metaverse. It also leverages blockchain technology for POAPs, identity, reputation, to reshape and also change how we learn and connect in virtual environments. So you'll get to see a live demo of all of that. But before we dive into the discussion, a few reminders. Since this session is recorded, you'll still get a chance to ask your questions. We'll have some questions primed up, but if you have any questions, just feel free to drop them in our Discord, drop them in our Telegram, and we can get you answers to them asynchronously. And of course, please stay active in our Discord community to keep your UETH chapter alive and thriving. And the reason we do all of these workshops at the University of Ethereum is we really try to inspire our community with real world use cases and help them understand how blockchain is creating real world impact. And so our motto has always been learn by doing. So as you learn about the metaverse, as you learn about how blockchain ties into the metaverse, please take some time to reflect on how this could influence you in any projects you might be willing to contribute to, guided by some of the insights you'll hear from Stacy today. So with that said, I'm going to bring up Stacy and ask her a few questions. Welcome, Stacy, to our workshop session. It's really, really great to have you. Would love to hear a bit more about your background and what drew you to the Metaverse space.
Yeah, so I've been in the Metaverse space for a number of years. I ended up in Web3 around 2020 officially. I'd been watching crypto and the ecosystem around 2018, 2019, but in 2018, I was building immersive entertainment complexes. I built my first one in downtown Los Angeles, 35,000 square feet, 5 geodesic domes, 360 projection mapping with AI, VR, and AR technologies on a campus for entertainment purposes. Then in 2020, COVID hit. I had 6 of those entertainment complexes in development across the country at that time. But the investors started pulling out because no one was building entertainment complexes. With this extraordinary team of visual people, it made sense to take what we were doing virtually. So this was kind of early Metaverse. We started to create virtual world scenarios for electronic music artists. And we provided blockchain-based ticketing, early NFTs, in-world NFT minting of experiences as souvenirs. And we also started to pioneer things like musicians releasing new music as NFTs. Now this is 2020, so that was kind of groundbreaking back then. Now it's pretty much commonplace. So that was my early introduction into the metaverse, kind of pre-metaverse back in 2020.
That's amazing. I mean, how did you go from entertainment to now applying this technology to the education sector?
Yeah, good question. So my background is both in computer science and fine arts, and I really find that I thrive at the intersection of both. How I ended up in education was that after we, built the foundation that was visionary of that company in 2020, I ended up being sought after to be a Web3 consultant for numerous companies, one of which was Zigazoo. Zigazoo is the world's largest social media app for kids. We were doing 3 NFT drops of over 3,000 each in 30 days with some of the world's largest IP players. And we were dropping NFTs for kids and parents. that was a moment where it was abundantly evident that education in tandem to releasing new technologies is essential. And so we had to, as we were marketing the drops, also do massive education that was fun, interesting, and gamified. From there, I was recruited to be the CEO of Third Academy, and Third Academy was creating this very beautiful high-level educational content on a platform that was very robust. And it really became abundantly clear to me that I wanted to support educators. I wanted to support new communities. I wanted to build a product that supported the best and the brightest innovators and pioneers in Web3. And the way to do that is to build a platform that truly provides the features needed to see communities thrive, excel, have strong ROIs, and maintain their community over time.
I love that so much. This goes back to the whole, you're so passionate about exactly what you're doing. So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the vision for Hive3 and how you see Hive3 becoming this, beacon for metaverse education and beyond.
Yeah, sure thing. The thing about Hive3 that was really important to us is let's not just educate, let's provide credentials on chain that absolutely validate the criteria that was used to evaluate your ability to have skills. There was a study that came out recently about a certain percentage of the skills listed on resumes or even on platforms isn't necessarily truthful. Now, if you have a soulbound token in your wallet, that's immutable and verifiable. So not only do you have the DeFi skills you say you do, a recruiter can actually check in real time what criteria was the criteria you had to satisfy to get those tokens. So our platform not only gives you the ability to get educated, to get the tokens, we have an auto matching recruiter system that scans wallets for the most qualified people for a particular position. Now that sounds great for the recruiters, but I have to tell you, every friend of mine who's going for a tech job is so put off when a recruiter asks them a question that is so obviously not with the understanding of what they really do. So it benefits both the recruiter and it benefits the applicant. But if you put that in an ecosystem where you have social feeds, where you can promote what you're doing personally and professionally, where you can advertise the events that you have as a community, as an educator or a new company, those events can be IRL or virtual. They can be via Zoom, via Butter, pretty much any platform that you have. You can advertise the tickets for them through our platform, through Luma and Eventbrite and Partyful. Additionally, if you don't have a preferable place, you can pop into one of our Metaverse Spaces. Our Metaverse Spaces are both communal and totally gated, depending upon how you engage with our platform. And in the metaverse, you can live stream out across multiple social channels in real time what you're doing. So we had Bankless DAO came in as an early adopter because they love this idea that they could take their spaces into the metaverse, a pre and post event networking, and stream it back to X and become higher up in the rankings of their followers. So there are a lot of different tools that we have, and we're so excited to be there in support of all the people that are brilliant in the space.
Amazing. Well, we just mentioned a ton of features for Hive3, which I think will be a good dovetail into the actual presentation itself. So I'll hand it over to you, Stacy, to go through your presentation. And in this presentation, we're effectively going to cover a bit more context of what even is the metaverse, why is it important, and then how the metaverse could be beneficial on this sector of education, networking, career/professional development. And then we're going to wrap up with a live demo where you'll be able to understand and visualize a lot of these features that we talked about. And then we'll come back together to talk through some questions. So I'm going to bring up Stacy's presentation and let her take it away.
Thanks so much, Tina. I appreciate it. So let's talk about the metaverse. The metaverse can be a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I think mostly when people think about the metaverse, they think about big headsets and complicated downloads of technology. But truthfully, our metaverses are three-dimensional spaces that are totally browser-based and fully mobile. Everything that you could do in the physical, you could do in the virtual and amplify it. A lot of our early adopters love it because they've got global communities, global chapters. They've got people everywhere that want to meet and convene, but they can't necessarily afford to do so at a conference or at one of their events. The metaverse gives you a place to have your community interact, engage, collaborate 24/7. And that's game changing. So let's talk about what those spaces are like. I mentioned one of the first items on that tile, which is 24/7, 365 co-working. Now, in an educational metaverse space like the ones we're building, we have screen sharing. We've got Dolby spatial sound. So I can give a presentation to the entire world, or I could pop out and talk to the person next to me with a reasonable amount of privacy. I have the ability to include games. I have included the ability to do pre and post networking, engagement on a totally different level. Additionally, you can have marketplaces. So you can sell virtual goods that identify your community to the avatar that is there. We think that's kind of game changing. Additionally, we just did our first conference in the metaverse. Now, in our mind's eye, conferences are natural extensions of the educational process. The things that we learn are sometimes in classrooms, they're sometimes in podcasts, they're sometimes at events. And one of the things that's interesting about that is that when you move your conference into the metaverse, you get the ability to continue the events 365. And that's really important. One of the biggest challenges that conference organizers have is getting people back to the conference year after year, and that huge marketing spend that they initiate to do so. If you've got a metaverse as a virtual extension of your conference, you have the ability to do panel discussions, talks, NFT galleries, and also sponsor booths that live on 365. And that's really very interesting. Another thing that we usually like to talk about are some of the problems we're solving for. I think I may have mentioned them earlier. One of which is recruiters are not necessarily technical people, and they're interviewing people for technical jobs. That educators and communities are using multiple platforms to engage their audience. This is causing low retention rates, lots of frustration. What we're trying to build here with Hive3 is one central place to organize, convene, grow, and thrive. The other problem that we're solving for is brands' abilities to connect with a Web3 audience. When you have a metaverse where brands can set up shop, create interesting experiences, and invite people in for something that they want, something they appreciate, and something that via an NFT can provide them with IRL and virtual benefits, is very, very pleasing. So our solution, we have a wallet-based auto recruiting system, so we can scan your wallet, find out that you have the exact skills that a certain recruiter needs, and match you up. Additionally, we provide gated and open metaverses for brands to set up these experiences, mint NFTs, provide benefits to everyone involved, or a brand can also sponsor the credentials that a particular educator is offering. So I complete the course, I'm eligible for the credential, I don't pay for it, the brand does, and I'm thrilled with that, and perhaps I get some utility benefits from that brand as well. Lastly, we're a single platform for educators, communities, and companies to engage, empower, educate, and network with their communities. So we bring it all together. We really do specialize not just in Web3 technologies, but AI and XR. We believe that there are lots of overlap, and we should not overlook that. Everything, once again, is browser-based and totally mobile, completely easy to use. We want this to be seamless, fun, and engaging. The competitive landscape, there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of these different things. What we're doing is building a platform to integrate these features, to provide you with the best tool set necessary to thrive and grow your community, build ROI, make money, and retain your audience. So our traction thus far has been pretty robust. We're pre-launch, and we've had over 70,000 aggregated total requests from the communities that have originally joined, over 200 events scheduled in our Metaverse campuses. The total aggregate reach of the participating communities is over 900,000. We've had 2,100 students participate in courses on our platform from over 70 countries, the majority of which have been from the continent of Africa and Asia. We've seen people go from remote regions, uneducated to educated, to tech jobs They may not be technical jobs in the tech industry, but they make substantially more than their local community can typically offer someone in compensation. We think that's game changing. Even in the United States right now, the students owe $1.6 trillion in debt to the federal government. The path from educated to employed has to become shorter, and we're providing tools to make that happen. So let's go on to the demo. Here we go. So this is where it gets exciting. You actually are starting to see a sneak peek at what our metaverse campuses look like. For us, it was really important to make it engaging, near photorealistic, and easy for someone to understand how to orient themselves in space. Once again, browser-based, totally mobile. You use your WASD keys. You can use a gaming joystick, or you can use your mouse pad to navigate the space. Additionally, you have the ability to turn on your camera, just like a Zoom meeting, to see somebody, and you could pop out of a main conversation into Dolby Spatial Audio to talk to someone with a reasonable amount of privacy. Now we're into the platform, and this is where you actually enter the metaverse. Basically, our platform is home to a social feed, the ability to see who the top contributors are in a community, what the top communities are, recommended jobs. If you go into the communities, you can search what communities are offering which benefits. You can find different communities that are offering courses, classes, and you can just click on them, find out what they're having, what their new articles are, what credentials they're offering. Also in the communities, you can see people. You can click through and find what kind of assets people hold, what credentials they hold, that make them qualified for a job. You can see the courses that they're participating in, the POAPs that they also own. When you go to content, you can search abundance of different content. And for us, once again, we believe that content is not only courses, it's podcasts, it's workshops, it is articles. Additionally, you have videos and you have newest, and you can see what communities are contributing. When you go to events, you have all events, IRL and virtual. Like we had mentioned before, you have the ability to utilize Eventbrite, Partyful, Luma to advertise your event. Or you can go to a metaverse event, and we can click on this and it'll take us right in to the metaverse. Just to join event and enter your password. Back to events, because my wallet is already integrated, it knows that I'm eligible for a certain course, and that course information is gated, and it's right here for me. I can see what times a day the classes operate at. I can see what the course content is. If it's a Zoom meeting, I can click through to the Zoom meeting. If it is a metaverse class, I can click through and be in the metaverse immediately. I can see who the instructors are, who the special guests are, and I can learn as much as I need all in one place at the click of a mouse. And then if you go over to minting, you can see the courses that I'm eligible for. This means that I've completed the course and I've qualified and I've been whitelisted for them. Or in this case, I don't have the credentials. I do not have the ability to access those credentials because I have not met the criteria based upon my wallet integration. Additionally, you can mint an NFT for community involvement. This means if I mint an NFT for Play for Change, I might have exclusive access to their Metaverse campus, to their events, to their educational content, and special features. Down here is one of my favorite features. As an individual, you can sell your freelance time or consulting time as an NFT. For me, I love this idea because I love the idea of access to people, and I love the idea of betting on their success professionally. So I could lock Melissa in at like $100 an hour, hold her NFT, and see her value go up to $400 an hour and maybe resell it. So I love that idea. I also think that if you're working on a project and you're looking for a freelancer and you have a budget, you can lock in somebody at a certain rate that makes you more likely to meet your budget. If we take a peek at the recruiter capabilities here, and once again, this is not accessible to everyone. It's only accessible to people with certain tokens in their wallet that are recruiters and that they're on the platform as a recruiter. You get the ability to search wallets by completing a simple questionnaire about the skills you're looking for. You hit search wallets and you get a list of people that meet that criteria. You also have your active jobs. You get to see what candidates are people you're actively pursuing. And you have the ability in real time through the platform, schedule with them a Zoom meeting or a Metaverse meeting. So what we're building is really meant to support and help communities, companies, and individuals thrive professionally in the technology ecosystem. And we're so excited to get users on the platform and really build this bigger and better over time so that everyone benefits.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing that demo and showcasing all of the features. I feel like we went through so much context in that short amount of a presentation. I have a lot of questions for you. And I do hope if this conversation inspires any questions for anyone listening to it, if you could just drop them in the Discord section of our chat or in Telegram, we can get you answers asynchronously. But I think one core question I have is, I've read that, the metaverse for education from an experiential learning perspective, there's some studies that show that it is more helpful for certain, learners. And you talked about some of the other benefits, like related to, geographic almost disparity becoming lesser of a challenge. And so could you help me summarize some of the benefits of the metaverse and in relation, to education?
Yeah. So when we think about virtual education, a lot of it is siloed. You might watch somebody on Zoom, but you often can't interact with them. Or you will be watching videos where you can't interact. In the metaverse, you actually have both. You could do watch parties of IRL events and have a community that's a live audience that can interact amongst each other, which is really great. Additionally, you can have a live person as an avatar teaching you content, sharing the screen, and answering your questions in real time, or doing a pre or post event networking, which is really very valuable. Another area that we're pioneering are AI-driven avatars that actually are assigned to each community, start to learn your content, start to learn your mission, your vision, and your values, and is there to answer those questions on an ongoing basis when perhaps living people are not able to do so in the metaverse. This also extends towards product demos. If you've got a brand booth for your tech product in our metaverse, you'll be able to have an avatar represent you, represent the features, even sell your product when you're not there. The other thing that we really love is community and the ability to foster that. And what I mean by that is we've got open campuses. So for example, we have a Women in Tech campus. We currently have Mission Impact Academy, Crypto Girls Club, Crypto Equalizers. And if you're a member of those communities, you can jump in with a friend or with somebody you met in a class and collaborate on a project, share your screen in real time, and maybe get the answers that you need. We think that that's taking what happens in Discord one step further and bringing it into 3 dimensions. And that's where we think people really thrive and people really live. Also, the last thing I think I'll mention is the ability to do real-time chat and the real-time translation of languages in a single class. So you could have people with that are multilingual in a single class getting the same information in real time and interacting.
Got it. And so you had this slide on the competitive landscape. I'll bring it up for reference. Can you just actually talk through like how you view Hive3 in particular, either augmenting or replacing some of the current things we'll use, right? For instance, if I jump into the metaverse friend, I theoretically wouldn't be using something like Zoom or Google Meet. So we'd love to sort of get your sense of like, what does the metaverse like a Hive3 displace? And how does that sort of, in the context of what people use today, how would that change their experience?
Yeah, so I love our name Hive3 because I do feel like we're a hive of activity, but also of features. And I love that we are positioned at the center of this slide because we really do provide a little bit of everything here in our platform. And we really believe that different communities and different people require different things. We know, for example, neurodiversity is a thing. So some people might thrive using Zoom. Some people might love Butter, but some people might need the 3-dimensional interaction provided with the metaverse. So as you see here, we do have the ability to meet, gather, and engage in the metaverse. We have the ability to provide online education, as you see in the upper left-hand corner. We're providing you the ability to find your courses, but then also find new ways of becoming educated. We're on our roadmap is also the integration of AI. So we can learn how our learners learn. We can provide our educators with tips so they can better refine their educational content so it actually is better received and you have higher retention rates. Additionally, when you look at things like LinkedIn and Meetup and X Spaces, you have the ability to host X Spaces in the metaverse and then stream it back to X, but also stream it across other social media channels. You have the ability to advertise your events like you do on Meetup. We're not saying don't use Meetup. We're saying, hey, bring your Meetup events onto our platform so that more people can see it and more people can engage with what you're doing. As far as LinkedIn, we have a lot of the same core offerings, except we're a little bit more super powered. We have the ability not only to get educated, but you can get those Soul Brown tokens. You can create a wallet to get noticed by recruiters. And one of the things that I personally think is ridiculous is this archaic system of applying for jobs. You upload a PDF and then you have to fill out all that information again. We don't know if it's real or not real. You have to make phone calls to find out. This should be really simple because all of this information can and will live on chain, and our professional identities will be the gating mechanism for a lot of experiences. And then on the final side of things, digital reputations. I mean, we all know, anybody in the space knows that blockchain is going to be the key to building your digital reputation in the future. And what we're trying to do is for people who are already in Web3 is to embrace it on an everyday basis, to make sure that your social profile has the power of your professional reputation as opposed to what you like or who you follow. We want you to collaborate with people. We want you to empower people. So it's really changing the dialogue of social media. Like, let's take social media a step forward and empower others and build things together. And that's really important to us. And that all starts with how your identity lives on chain. We also, though, wanted to make this incredibly friendly so people who are Web 2 people can join us. So you can just join with your Google email and get on in and start learning and collaborating with others. And we really think that if we get this right, we're not going to be the only teachers, and people who don't think of themselves as teachers will soon become mentors, and we'll build a really thriving network and ecosystem that way.
Thank you for that. So it sounds like you're effectively creating almost like a new experiential layer on top of a lot of these different components. And the angle you're focusing on is specific to education networking, which could augment a lot of these existing players out there. I think the other question I have is, like, when I think about the metaverse and blockchain, right? Like, those two, while they're often grouped together because they're more frontier technologies, to me, they don't necessarily have to overlap. And so maybe would love to understand from your background, you started in the metaverse space, like what led you to conclude that blockchain and the metaverse are interrelated and start building for the two together?
Yeah, I think that I actually started building for the two in tandem from the start because I had the team to do the virtual events. And so in the same time, I couldn't help but notice blockchain, and I couldn't help but really love the idea of NFTs with utility, robust utility for brands, robust utility to open up events. So that's when we immediately launched with the tokenized ticketing. It just made sense. It was a through line, not only from the brands to the event, it was a brand line, brands, event, and the talent. I mean, you could actually even utilize this to invest in future shows. And then the ability to mint an NFT in real time in an experience that becomes your souvenir that's kind of unique to you but resellable was extraordinary. And then the engagement between the artist, the event, living on past the event, like this idea that anybody who attended the event could get an airdrop of a new track because they were there. So it really creates this ongoing web of engagement that is lush, delicious, and important. So I think it's always been a through line for me. And I think that, my entree into Web3 was less crypto and more blockchain. I love this idea of of ledgers and the ability for it to change how we engage the world and engage systems across verticals.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think as you were talking, it just sounds like blockchain is a natural technology for the metaverse in that both exists online, and crypto and blockchain offers a lot of online reputation, online sort of proofs that you may need in order to augment how the metaverse dynamics may work. So that's a really interesting point. Yeah, because I've always sort of wondered, like, a lot of metaverses have, blockchain, right, with like Sandbox and et cetera, but like the two could theoretically be very different in that, Meta with their VR headsets may not have anything like blockchain related in it. And so it's just always been a question top of mind for me.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Cool. I think I would love to hear if you could share a case study or maybe a success story of how you've seen Hive3 or other metaverses transform education or professional development type events.
Yeah, really good question. I mean, like I said, we've had over 200 events scheduled in our metaverse from a variety of different sources. We saw Mission Impact Academy do an AI course in our metaverse, and they didn't do all of the classes in there, but they did a variety of different special events. And we saw people come in from around the world, and we geo-timed it so that different people in different regions could attend. And then the final class was in our metaverse, and we did an exhibition of all the AI generated work, which was really exciting. And it was just a way for the community to engage and to party and to celebrate their accomplishments. It was also fun for us as being the team behind Hive3, because a lot of people had their cameras on. Like, as I mentioned before, you could be your avatar, you could turn your camera on. And we could see people laughing and smiling, and somebody's kid was jumping up and down. So you could see what was really happening at home for people during these events, and that was pretty special. I think also another moment that was really special for us thus far was when the Breathe conference asked us to do the extension of their IRL event in our metaverse. We actually built a special metaverse for them. And they were very keen on NFTs, and we had 10 NFT galleries by some very prominent curators, 130 works of NFT art on exhibit in 3 stories in a tower in the metaverse where you could buy those NFTs in real time. And the top floor was a nightclub where you could party. And we had a virtual DJ, we had virtual drinks, we even had conference swag, we had water bottles with the branding. And then another fun thing we did was we took the sponsor brands and we placed them on planes and buses that flew up in the sky, because the tower was all glass, so you could see them in rotation around the building in real time. So the thing about the metaverse is we typically build the spaces so they're easy to orient yourself and figure out how to engage. But then the second part is you get to have fun. And my experience building entertainment complexes and nightclubs really leads me to want to take those cues and integrate them into everything we do, because people will learn more when they're happier, more engaged, having fun, and networking.
Love that. And one more question, and then we'll move on to recap and close the session. The biggest thing with all new technology, right, is adoption. And so what do you believe are some of the biggest challenges for adoption and key factors that could influence wider adoption for something like the metaverse?
Yeah, really good question. So prior to being a Third Academy, I was at a company called Alt Ethos, and I was building business models for metaverses. And we had built a metaverse for Vikram, the highest grossing film of all time the highest grossing Tamil film of all time out of Bollywood. And it premiered at the Cannes Film Festival. And that's where it really became abundantly evident to me that we needed to move out of a phase where the metaverse was used for one-off marketing executions. And when I started to work for Third Academy, it became abundantly evident that the metaverse was a tool. And if we could integrate it into a deeper, bigger ecosystem, we could make it easy to use and we could make it sticky so that people come back to it over and over again. So if we start to think of the metaverse as not a place to come and discover a pair of shoes, get the shoes and leave, but as a place to grow our networks, as a place to share information, as a place to co-work, as a place to find a product where there's actually someone there to demo it, or I can purchase it, as a place I can rely upon day in and day out for engagement, for opportunity, for inspiration, and for fun, that changes things. So when I work with the metaverse, I work with it from the perspective of building a venue. And when I built venues in real life, I had to monetize them from day one of opening. I had to make sure the crowds kept coming back. So that's my perspective when I integrate a metaverse campus into an educational community. I also think that education has stayed roughly the same for a very long time, and that being the mom of two people who are neurodiverse, we need to figure out new ways to educate, ways that are diverse, ways that evolve, and ways that inspire. And once we do that, we're going to change the educational system. The last thing that really, really keeps me working extra hours is the fact that we need greater access to affordable education globally. We need to see more women and more diverse people. And when we provide that, we are going to see brilliance in areas of the world we haven't seen thrive yet. And that is eye-opening, it's game-changing, and inspirational, not just to me, but my whole team. And that's why we work as hard as we do in launching this.
I love that. I love that speech. And yeah, I can just feel the passion you have for changing how education looks. Well, thank you so much for your time. I would love to now move towards the close. Of course, we will always share a recap of this session via our newsletter. And the one thing we do ask for our speakers to do is sort of share with our UETH members who may be watching this any parting words you might have, right? So for instance, if there's educators or students looking to now start navigating the metaverse, where should they get started? Or if you just have any more generic advice for how people can either get started in crypto or contribute to your ecosystem, we'd love to hear any inspirational words from you.
I think that you have to believe in yourself, and you can't stop believing in yourself. My mom passed away a year ago, and she would always say that to me. And when things get tough and things get hard, you have to hold on to that. The second thing is you have to be patient with yourself. Like, new technologies may or may not be hard. It depends upon how you're oriented, but we all have the capacity to learn and to grow. The other thing you have to be is giving. Find someone and mentor them. Find someone and share your information. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Everyone around you will learn and evolve with you. I think that if we keep these very simple ideas close at hand and we implement them from our heart, we will see meaningful change globally in education and in our communities.
Thank you for sharing that and for being vulnerable with us. I also I truly believe that one of the biggest assets that founders can have, like, sure, they can have, founder market fit experience and a very deep vertical and all these credentials, but the biggest asset is like undying belief, right? Because it's like everything starts with belief. And if you can't continue believing in something before it exists, it just won't exist. And so I think that is like a very understated and something that people don't talk about, right? And that in general speaks to a lot of the grit that you have as a founder and the undying conviction you have on your mission. So thank you so much again for all of the knowledge and advice you've shared. As always, we do share a recap of this session via our newsletter. We will also write a content piece, a blog piece about a lot of the topics we discussed with Stacy. At some point, we will figure out a UETH event within the metaverse. And so please keep an eye out on our comms for all these content pieces and for announcements on anything we do with Hive3, our next workshop, as well as any community spaces we might host. Thanks again for everyone who's watched this video all the way through, and we will see you next time for the next workshop.
Thank you so much, Tina. It was such an honor.
Thank you very much for being here.